Well, continuing from the YouTube story about what happened with the game when he fell into the incident with him and 50, that blew up. People want to know what really went down. So the Patreon, I said, well, I'll give y'all the full version first before everybody on YouTube gets to see it. I feel that's only fair, right? On the head, here you go. Now, everybody and their mama who signed up for this whole G Unit, it was so much money involved in the whole G Unit process with putting game over there, all these different managements now. Now, Jimmy, who tolerating 50 basically because of business, but they have certain relationships that don't coincide with 50. So they're already moving with, a whole different agenda when it came to the game. Because they didn't sign the game, to be with 50 Cent. They signed to be with Dr. Dre. And the game was there before 50 was. Before they picked 50 up. But he could never make any records or get anything really done. But before all that, he was just running around with Diddy. They had never made any music together. But he rolling around in Cali with the game. So let that you fill in the blanks there. Game was a male stripper before. And Jimmy has a relationship with Puff, so we won't go into that, They know each other. Not like they business partners, anything like that, but they know each other. So if you know each other and you know that situation, you know how it's gonna play out. So everybody hit the like button. And if you're on Patreon, hit the heart. So I can see if you're on Patreon, I want you to do it so I can know who all getting their notifications. I can say, all right, everybody getting they it. But I say that to say this. Don't mess up. I know it sounds very simple, don't it? Don't screw this up. So when the game screwed all of it up, we ain't got to go through the long details. We already know what happened between the game and Fifth, right? Now that that's been done, okay, and that has all been brought to the light, we are all reintroduced into a whole new era of problems. And what I mean by problems is there was about a month or two before all hell broke loose. Because people forget that they patched it up like 2 days later. Because they told 50 he should have never went on the radio and had that discussion. That discussion should have been in-house. He didn't talk to Jimmy. He didn't talk to M. He didn't talk to Dre. And you just up and kick the game out of G Unit live on radio. And the reason Fifth did it like that, because he said, if I didn't address it right away, y'all would have came up with a way to try to talk and let him remain in the group. And I don't want him to think that's okay. There was not, we would have had a talk, all of us, including the game, and we could have got to the bottom of it. But in New York, since they was in New York, it looked funny. Now the game is in New York. He's at his baby mom's crib, actually. So he just happened to be in New York while this is going on. His management is from New York. So he comes right over because he hears what's going on. He was like, well, this is crazy. Let me go on over there and see what's going on. So the whole incident goes down the way it did. His man got shot in the leg or whatever. So when all of this stuff transpired and they talked it out, pieced everything up, Dre's trying to hold everything together. Game wasn't going to be in G Unit no more, but he was going to be on Aftermath. And that press conference they had to try to patch things up, 50 kissed him on the cheek to try to make up and make nice. Now, and we'll talk about why that press conference was really done in a second. But after that was done, behind the scenes, they didn't want the game to be working with 50. No way. This was the best thing for him. This is how Jimmy was looking at it like we could just cut 50 off. We don't need him no more. Game is bigger than him. So Dre was like, we work exclusively with Dre and all these different aspects of it. 50 wanted him out of there. Like, if y'all gonna do that, let me out my contract. I'll go do me. You know, like if we got a confusion on if y'all think Game and me are the same, if there's some type of confusion here, then let me unconfuse the situation and I can go do something else. So M made it known to Dre, like, Dre, we gonna lose fifth. We're gonna lose fifth, and we know how talented he is compared to Game. We had Game here, we know what he is. Okay, and fifth ain't gonna work with him no more. What are we gonna have with Game? We're gonna have another artist stuck on the label who can't make records. So, and Dre was like, man, this is just so much of a mess. So Interscope put him on another label where he would be off Aftermath and Interscope and everything else because he wouldn't listen. He just continually dissed 50. Now he's on Giffen Records with it's still Interscope. So Jimmy reached out to Puff. And Puff was like, man, like it's just too much to get involved in. But I see what I could do, Jimmy. You know, like Jimmy's like, okay, we got to try to rebuild because after all this negative press, we need to try to get some, some music out there, some real music. Let's try to work something out. Diddy had put out the Bad Boy 2 soundtrack, and that was the last thing of success really that they had. Everything else was like flop. The Black Rob album flopped, and it's rebuild time. So he came with the Making the Band, and now he got this Danity Kane. They had this song out called Showstopper, and Young Jock had It's Going Down. I'm in the tram. And Bad Boy at that time was going like to the South, doing Bad Boy South and trying to get 8 Ball and MJG back cracking, and that was popping. That first lick they did there, so it was jumping for them. So the game was like, man, let me get on the track with Young Jock, you know, or that Danity Kane, we get a radio hit and we do a remix, put that out, and Diddy was like, all right, let me get in contact with you. So the game went on there running his mouth, talking about some, yeah, we might be doing some things, I'm looking at a lot of options, my options. I could go, probably go with Bad Boy. I could do that. I could work right here with, Dre at Aftermath. If Dre don't want to get down with me, I think Bad Boy. And that's the wrong thing to say when you on the West Coast. Then it's like, Bad Boy. What you doing walking with Bad Boy? There's still people holding on to that Death Row Bad Boy thing. So Jimmy had reached out to Puff, on some business. Like, let's try to make a remix, get back cracking. We can keep Game over here on the East Coast. But his flag had already been planted and submitted in the West. Even though, he good everywhere. It was getting crazy. Then they started this GU Not movement, spent money and stuff in the budget making these shirts, trying to take down G Unit. And I mean, they was just going 100 on everything, man, trying to destroy everything 50 had built. Going to New York, walking with the crowd, the public, playing ball on the court. I mean, Game was doing everything, and he strapped the whole time. It was the craziest thing anybody had ever seen at the time because nobody had ever did anything like that. But once that happened, Jay told Diddy, stand down on that. Don't get involved. He's like, that guy's going down. Jay told him flat out, the game is going to go down. It's going to be a fireball because he's stepping on a lot of powerful people's toes. And I already know he can't battle 50 Cent. He's not made to battle 50 Cent. He won't last. He won't last battling 50. So at that time, the fact that Jay-Z and Nas was not on the same wavelength. Those two were still like beefing at the time, and it was just having talks of them, working things out and like coming back to the fold, so to speak. So it was like Jay and Nas is trying to, work things out. And the crazy thing about it is that 50 is going after Nas. So this was crazy at the time. So Nas saw the game and said, oh, that's the guy I'm going to help. He started working with the game. Nas was the guy that ended up picking up the slack that Diddy wasn't doing. Nas extended his hand and said, yo, I'm gonna teach you, youngin'. Because he said, we older than 50. Me and Jay. We can't be going at it with we can't be going at it with 50 Cent, It'll take somebody like the game, somebody who's a youngin', who got that energy to go at him like that. He can win. If I stand next to him, he'll be able to take 50 down and take him out. I know how to beat 50. And that was it. Nas is like, lyrically, I can destroy 50. It's not even a contest. If Nas was to battle. But 50 got the energy. He got the people right now. He got the young folks. Nas had the older established. So the young folks ain't going to try to hear nothing unless it's crazy. And he was like, I have to go down to that crazy level. And I'm too old to go back. But game already there. All I got to do is stand next to a person like that. And right away, 50 whole empire's in trouble. Because this guy got the gas to keep going and keep going and keep going at everybody in their crew. And fifth, Nas used him as the weapon. He used the game to keep going at 50. Then there's another song where 50 and Nas got, where he addressed Nas' verse. He talking about the window shopper line. When he called Nas a window shopper, Nas was just reacting to everything. But he got the game on him. Like, they had so many songs together that people never even heard. I heard it, but y'all never heard it. Some of you may have, but he addressed it on a song with the game. Because 50 called Nas a window shopper, and that just really got him hot again. And he was in the studio with the game. So those two kept making songs together. So by him having his back, Game was like, cool, we good. We can go to war with 50 and do what we gotta do. Nas got my back. Then Nas and Jay hooked up and begat Buddy Buddy. And Game and Nas situation changed. Because, they were still cool, but it was like Nas was back on doing a whole new thing. Moved on from 50. And then they kind of like squashed whatever they was doing. And then 50 would always say something sly or slick out his mouth. But that's mainly what happened. Jay got involved and told Diddy to back out. But Jay, I mean, Diddy end up dealing with him later on. Like he did the last night song. Last night I couldn't get an answer. He did the remix to that. And by that time, everything was, a different situation. But Jay in the game situation, I mean, it just was. It was to a point where it was like, dude, you keep playing. Sure enough, he did that one freestyle on Jay when DOA was coming out. He was going to release Blueprint 3, and and that was just it. He had enough. And the game was out of there. He mentioned Beyonce and how he couldn't have a baby with Beyonce, and he mentioned a lot of stuff that was not to be mentioned. You know what I'm saying? That stuff was like proprietary only, but he decided to bring it up in a song. And once he did that, everything dried up. Tours, money, everything had dried up and took a little bit of a hit for him. Jay was serious about that. So back when his back was against the wall, he was coming out with the second documentary. They reached out to Diddy again and all that, but at the first wave, Diddy was not, keen to working with Game on that situation no more. Even though he could have stopped the whole Dr. Dre situation. Before he signed with Dre, he was like, man, Dre ready to sign me. Diddy just stepped out and said, go ahead and do your thing, man. And he could have blocked all that and said, no, you my guy, I'm going to sign you. But no, he didn't. He let Game sign with Dre. So, and he never did nothing to try to sabotage Game. And that's what killed me about people, that Pac been gone for how many years now? Like 20 some odd, almost 30 years. Right? And people are still, and when I mean still, I mean still. People are still wondering about the character of Diddy. How? Diddy has shown you throughout those 20 years that he don't care what nobody else is doing. He ain't just saying it to be saying it. He really don't care what somebody else is doing. That's just facts, man. He different. And in this industry, that's rare. That you find an executive producer who you ain't finna make no money with him and everything else, and then he just turn around and do all that, and you go your own way, and he just like, he cool with it? Like, really cool with it? It's crazy. It's rare. Very rare. He bought Diddy, because of that, he bought Diddy a $250,000 Ferrari. He said, I had to do something for him, man. Because he could have messed up my whole career, which he could have. Diddy just like, nah, man, go and do your thing. Get your money. That was just some realness there. Or, remember, when Jimmy was into the feds and they was going to arrest him, they was asking him about his relationship with Puffy. asking Jimmy, and this Jimmy Henchman, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Roseman, rather. He was asking Jimmy about Puffy, if you ever seen Puffy with some underage boys. They were asking him those type of questions. So if that was true or any of it, if they had that evidence, they would have presented it by now to try to take Puff out. So let me go take this call. Thank y'all for the time. Hopefully y'all like the video, understand what's going on in the video. I got it. Oh, all right, let me get out of here.